Class 12 Accountancy, Accounting for Share Capital. Hello students, how are you all? Myself Kishore C. Chauhan and I welcome all the students on my YouTube channel Guru of Accountancy. Dear students, you must have started preparation for your 12th board exam. Today in this session, we will cover all the journal entries of the chapter Accounting for Share Capital. And we will also discuss important points covered in this chapter from your exam point of view. So this would be your full revision of this chapter. Myself Kishore Chauhan and I welcome to my YouTube channel Guru of Accountancy. So without wasting your time, let us begin the session. First of all, let us understand what is company. So company means a company incorporated or registered under the Companies Act 2013 or under any other earlier Companies Act. It is an artificial person having corporate legal entity distinct from its members. That means shareholders. And it has a common seal used for its signature. Its capital is contributed by its member, that means shareholder, who are the real owners of the company. But the company is managed by board of directors who are elected by the shareholders of the company. What is the definition of company? According to Chief Justice Marshall, a company is a person, artificial, invisible, intangible, and existing only in the eyes of law. So according to this definition, company is an artificial person and it is invisible and intangible and it exists only in the eyes of law. Being a mere creation of law, it possesses only those properties which the charter of its creation confers upon it, either expressly or an incidental to its very existence. So company is an artificial person and it is invisible person and it exists only in the eyes of law. What are the features of company? The first feature of company is body corporate. A company is formed according to the provisions of law. In India, the companies are formed and registered under the companies law. Separate legal entity. A company has a separate legal entity which is distinct and separate from its members. That means company is a separate legal person. Its shareholder and company both are different persons. It can hold and deal with any type of property. That means company can buy property, company can sell property. It can enter into contracts and even open a bank account on its own name. So company is a separate legal person which is distinct from its owner. Third, limited liability. The liability of the members of the company is limited to the extent of unpaid amount of the shares held by them. So in case of company, liability of shareholder is limited up to the unpaid amount of the shares held by them. Fourth, perpetual succession. That means the death or insanity or insolvency of any member of the company in no way affects the existence of the company. Members may come and go, but the company continues. That means the death of shareholder, insanity of shareholder, insolvency of shareholder, that means owner, does not affect the existence of company because company is a separate legal person distinct from its owners. Fifth point, common seal. The company being an artificial person cannot sign its name by itself because it is an artificial person. So every company is required to have its own seal which act as an official signature of the company. So whenever any contract is signed, then on that common seal of the company is kept and that is the official signature of the company. Next is transferability of shares. The shares of public limited company are freely transferable from one person to another person. May sue or be sued. Dear student, a company being a legal person can enter into contracts and can enforce the contractual rights against others. It can sue and be sued in its name if there is a breach of contract by the company. So any outsider party, any third person can sue upon a company, and company can also sue third party because it is an artificial legal person. Now, what are the kinds of company? What are the different types of company? The types of companies are decided on the basis of liability and on the basis of number of members. That means number of shareholders. So on the basis of liability, company may be companies limited by shares, companies limited by guarantee, and unlimited company. These are the three types on the basis of liability. On the basis of number of members, company may be public company, private company, or one person company. So these are the different types of company based on liability and number of members. Now, what is share capital of a company? This is the main topic of this chapter. Share capital denotes the amount of capital raised by the company by the issue of shares. So any company who is in need of money will issue shares to the public. Public will subscribe for shares and they will become the shareholders of the company. Amount collected from the shareholders is known as share capital. Thus, the amount of capital contributed by the shareholder is called share capital. So capital is given by the owners and owners are shareholders. The number of shareholder is very large in case of company. So a separate capital account cannot be opened for each one of them. So capital of all the shareholder is merged in one common capital account, which is known as share capital account. So in case of company, they prepare share capital account, and in that capital contributed by all the shareholder is kept. So that is known as share capital account. Share capital of a company is divided into small equal unit of finite number and each such unit known as share. So say for example, total share capital is 1 lakh and if it is divided by rupees 10, so 1 lakh divided by 10, so 10,000 will be the number of shares. Price of one share is 10 rupees. Each such unit is known as share. Categories of share capital. There are different types of share capital. In the first is authorized capital. Authorized capital is the amount of share capital which a company is authorized to issue by its memorandum of association. Company cannot raise capital more than the amount of authorized capital. So we can say that it is the maximum amount of capital which can company collect. And it is also known as nominal capital or registered capital. So authorized capital is the capital authorized by the memorandum of association. It is the maximum amount of capital which company can collect through its lifetime. And it is also known as nominal and registered capital. Issued capital. It is that part of authorized capital which is actually issued to the public for subscription, including the shares allotted to vendors and signatories to the company's memorandum. So, from the authorized capital, some number of shares are issued to public, that is issued capital. The authorized capital which is not offered for public subscription is known as unissued capital. So, we have issued capital and unissued capital. Issued capital means that part of authorized capital which is offered to public for subscription, and the capital which is not offered to public is known as unissued capital. Subscribed capital. It is that part of the issued capital which has been actually subscribed by the public. That means the number of shares applied by the public. When the applications received are same as issued shares for public subscription, then subscribed capital would be equal to issued capital. In case of company, there may be over subscription, under subscription, or full subscription. When number of applications received are more than number of shares issued, then it is over subscription. But if number of applications received from the shareholder is less than the issued capital, then it is under subscription. And when issued capital and subscribed capital both are equal, then it is full subscription. So subscribed capital indicates that part of issued capital which has been actually subscribed by public. That means applied by the public. Called up capital. Called up capital is that part of the subscribed capital which has been called up on the shares. So say for example, face value of share is suppose 100 rupees and out of 100 rupees, company has called up only 50 rupees, then 50 rupees will be called as called up capital. The company may decide to call the entire amount or part of the face value of the shares. Let us understand by one example. If the face value of share allotted is rupees 10 and the company has called up only 7 per share, in that case, the called up capital is rupees 7 per share. So called up capital is nothing but the amount called by the company on its shares. What is paid up capital? It is that portion of the called up capital which has been actually received from the shareholder. That means the amount which is actually paid by the shareholders to the company. When the shareholders have paid all the called up amount, the called up capital will be equal to the paid up capital. If any of the shareholder has not paid the amount of calls, such an amount may be called as calls in arrears or unpaid amount. Therefore, if you want to find paid up capital, then called up capital minus calls in arrears. So you will get paid up capital. Uncalled capital. Uncalled capital is that portion of the subscribed capital which has not yet been called. Let us understand with the help of previous example. For example, if the face value of share allotted is rupees 10 and the company has called up only 7 rupees per share. So in that case, uncalled capital is rupees 3 per share and 7 rupees would be the called up capital. So by this example, you can understand 7 is the called up capital and 3 rupees is uncalled capital. What is reserve capital? A company may reserve a portion of its uncalled capital to be called only in the event of winding up of the company. Such uncalled amount is called reserve capital of the company. So reserve capital is the portion of uncalled capital which company will call only on winding up of the company. That portion is kept as a reserve and that's why it is known as the reserve capital. It is available only for the creditor on winding up of the company. So when the company is closed down, this reserve capital is utilized for making payment to the creditors. Now here you can see the chart. Authorized capital is divided into two parts, issued capital and unissued capital. Issued capital may result into subscribed capital, and in subscribed capital also there may be subscribed and fully paid up and subscribed but not fully paid up. So these are the different kinds of share capital. Now, what are the different types of shares? So basically there are two types of shares. One is preference share and second is equity shares. Equity shares are also known as ordinary shares. Now what is share? Meaning of share. Shares refers to the units into which the total share capital of company is divided. It is a fraction part of the share capital. So say for example, total share capital is rupees 1 lakh and suppose we divide it with 10,000 shares. 1 lakh divided by 10,000 shares, then rupees 10 will be the share, 1 share. So shares refers to the units into which the total share capital of the company is divided. It is one fraction part of the share capital. The person who contribute money through shares are called shareholders and they are the real owners of the company. Now let us understand procedure for issue of shares. A company can collect amount of share in two ways. First is by installment. In that first installment is known as application money. Second installment is known as allotment money. Then the remaining installment are call money. It may be first call, second call, third call, etc. In the final call, the word final is added to the last installment. Say for example, second is the last call, then you have to use second and final call. So company can collect amount of share by installment or in lump sum. That means full amount at the time of application. Now let us understand procedure for issue of shares. When company wants to issue shares, first of all, it has to issue prospectus. Prospectus is nothing but it is an invitation to public to subscribe for shares. It is one type of invitation to public to buy company's shares. After issuing prospectus, company will receive applications from the public. When the prospectus is issued to the public, prospective investors intending to subscribe the share capital of the company would make an application along with the application money and deposit the same with the scheduled bank as specified in the prospectus. So second is receipt of applications and application money from the public. And the third stage is allotment of shares. If the company has received minimum subscription, then shares are allotted to the public. After allotment of shares, they become shareholders. Many times, company may reject shares and tell them that we can't allot shares to you. So for them, company has to send letters of regret to those to whom no allotment has been made. So these are the three steps in the issue of shares. First is inviting public by issuing prospectus. Second is receiving applications and application money. And the third is allotment of shares to the public. After allotment, they will become shareholders of the company. They will become the owners of the company. Now, what is minimum subscription? Minimum subscription is the minimum amount that, in the opinion of directors, must be collected to meet the needs of business operations of the company. Minimum subscription of capital cannot be less than 90% of the issued capital, according to SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, Disclosure and Investor Protection Guidelines 2000. So minimum subscriptions should be of 90% of the issued capital. It should not be less than this. If it is less than 90% of the issued capital, then company has to return application money. If this condition is not satisfied, the company has to refund the entire subscription amount received to public. If a delay occurs beyond 8 days from the date of closure of subscription list, the company shall be liable to pay the amount with interest at a rate of 15%. So dear student, remember, if company delays in refunding the money to the applicant, then it has to pay 15% interest to them. Issue of shares. Shares of a company can be issued at par or at premium. What is issue of shares at par? So shares are said to be issued at par when their issue price is exactly equal to their nominal value. Say for example, nominal value, that means face value is 10 and shares are issued at 10 rupees, both are equal, then these are issued at par. What is at premium? When the shares of a company are issued at a price more than its nominal value, the excess amount is called premium or securities premium reserve. So say for example, face value of a share is 10 rupees and company issued shares at 12 rupees. So 2 rupees is securities premium. Now we will understand accounting treatment for the issue of shares for cash. Here we are first trying to understand installment. First, company will receive application money. So entry would be bank account debit to share application account. After receiving application money will be transferred to share capital. So second entry would be share application account debit to share capital. In many cases, Shareholders are not allotted any share. Sorry, public is not allotted any share. So their money is refunded. So in that case, we have to also credit to bank account, the amount which is refunded. If the shares are issued at premium and the premium amount is collected at the time of application, then to securities premium reserve account will be credited. Many times more amount is received at the time of application, and in that case excess amount we adjust with the allotment and calls. So in that case, to shares allotment account will be credited and to calls in advance will be credited. So basically there are two entries for application. First is application money received, bank account debit to share application account. And second, for transfer of application money to share capital, share application account debit to share capital. If amount is refunded, then to bank will come. If shares are issued at premium and premium is collected at the time of application, then to securities premium reserve account will be credited. If excess amount is received and it is adjusted with the allotment and calls, then to share allotment account and to calls in advance account will come. Not possible in all the exercise. You have to write entries as per the information given in the exercise. Thereafter, entry for the amount of allotment due. So share allotment account will be debited to share capital. If the premium amount is collected at the time of allotment, then to securities premium reserve account will be credited. So our entry for the amount due is share allotment account debit to share capital account to securities premium reserve account. Dear student, here you can add the word equity share or preference share as the case may be. If these are the equity share, then you can write equity share allotment account debit to equity share capital account to securities premium reserve account. Remember, if preference shares are issued, then you can write preference share allotment account debit to preference share capital account to securities premium reserve account. Securities premium reserve account will be credited only when shares are issued at premium and premium is with allotment. Thereafter, allotment money will be received. So your entry would be bank account debit to equity share allotment account or to preference share allotment account. So these are the two entries for allotment, allotment due and allotment money received. Thereafter, first call due. Your entry would be equity share first call account debit to equity share capital account. If it is preference share, then you will write preference share first call account debit to preference share capital account. Thereafter, call money will be received. So for receipt of first call amount, bank account debit to equity share first call account. So these are the two entries for the first call. Similar entries will come for the second call. Share second call account debit to share capital. This is second call due. And 8 number for receipt of second call amount, bank account debit to share second call account. Now here, one important point you have to remember, I have already said earlier, the words the and final will be added to the last call. If second call is the last call, it will be termed as second and final call. And if the third call is the last call, it will be termed as third and final call. So with the final call, you have to use the word and final. So these are the journal entries for the issue of shares for cash. Once again, first two entries for the application, application money received and transfer of application. Next two entries are for the allotment, allotment due and allotment money received. Next two entries for the first call due and first call money received. Similarly for the second call and third call. Now, accounting treatment when the full amount of share is received at the time of application. So many times company may collect lump sum amount at the type of application. In that case, your first entry would be for the receipt of application money, bank account debit to share application and allotment account. See here we have added the word application and allotment account. Then this application money will be transferred to share capital. So to share application account debit, share application and allotment account debit to share capital account. If excess money is received and it is refunded, then share application and allotment account debit to bank account. So these entries will come when the lump sum amount is collected from the shareholder at the time of application. Now, some important points while issuing shares for public subscription. This may be asked in 1 mark MCQ. First point, the application money should be at least 5% of the face value of the share. So, if your face value of share is 100 rupees, then it's 5%. That means rupees 5 should be the application money. It should not be less than 5. Second, a period of 1 month must elapse between two calls. So there should be the period of 1 month between two calls. It should not be less than 1 month. Third important point, the amount of calls should not exceed 25% of the face value of the shares. So if face value of the share is 100, then you cannot collect more than rupees 25 on at the time of first call, second call or third call. So amount of calls should not exceed 25% of the face value of the share. Fourth important point, a minimum 14 days notice is given to the shareholder to pay the amount. Fifth point, call must be made on a uniform basis on all shares within the same class. The procedure for accounting for the issue of both equity shares and preference share is same. Only you have to change the word equity or preference. To differentiate between the two, the words equity and preference share is prefixed to each and every installment. So these are the important points which you have to keep in mind for issue of shares. Calls in arrears. What is calls in arrears? So when any shareholder fails to pay the amount due on allotment or any of the calls, such amount is known as calls in arrears. It is also known as unpaid calls. What will be the entry? So suppose at the time of first call, there is a calls in arrears. Then in the receipt entry, that means in the entry number 6, you will write bank account debit, received amount, calls in arrears account debit, not received amount to share first call account. But if the calls in arrears is with the second call, then your entry number 8 will change bank account debit, calls in arrears account debit to share second and final call account. So calls in arrears is debited in the receipt entry. That means when we receive call money. So your entry number 6 and 8 will change. One more important thing, calls in arrears account is debited when company has opened calls in arrears account. Else directly you can write bank account to share first call account or bank account debit to share second and final call account. Calls in arrears account will be debited when a company has opened calls in arrears account. So calls in arrears is nothing but the unpaid amount of call from the shareholders. Interest on calls in arrears. Company can charge interest at stipulated rate on calls in arrears. If the article is silent about the interest at a rate not exceeding 10% per annum shall have to be charged on it. So remember, interest on calls in arrears should be 10% per annum if nothing is said in the article of association. Journal entry for the receipt of calls in arrears with interest. When this amount is received with interest, your entry would be bank account debit to calls in arrears account to interest on calls in arrears account. Interest on calls in arrears account is credited because it is income. Calls in arrears account is credited because earlier we have debited when there was a calls in arrears in the entry number 6 and 8. So this would be the entry for the amount received for calls in arrears and interest. What is calls in advance? So like calls in arrears, there may be calls in advance also. Sometimes shareholders pay a part or the whole amount of the calls not yet made. The amount so received from the shareholder is known as calls in advance. So may be possible at the time of application or at the time of allotment. Some of the shareholder may pay first call money and second call money, then it is known as calls in advance. And calls in advance is the liability of the company, so it must be credited. What will be the journal entry? So in the receipt entry, you will write bank account debit to calls in advance. Journal entry on the due date of that particular call would be calls in advance account debit to share first or second call account, whatever is the case. But when the amount of calls in advance is received, then on that day in the receipt entry, you will write bank account debit to calls in advance. The account which is credited here will be closed by debiting it in the due entry. Say for example, if it is first call money, then calls in advance account will be debited in the first call due. So calls in advance account debit to share first call account, as the case may be. Interest on calls in advance. So like interest on calls in arrears, interest on calls in advance. Calls in advance is a liability of the company because it is the amount received in advance. So company has to pay interest on it from the date of its receipt up to the date when the appropriate call is due for payment. If the article of association is silent on interest on calls in advance, it is given at a rate of 12% per annum. What will be the journal entry for the payment of interest on calls in advance? So it is expense, so it is debited, interest on calls in advance account debit to bank account. Or first due entry you can pass and then later on you can pass entry for the interest paid. Due entry would be interest on calls in advance account debit to sundry shareholders account. And at the time of payment, sundry shareholders account debit to bank. This is separate entries, or you can pass the combined entry as we discussed in number 1, interest on calls in advance to bank. Interest on calls in arrears and calls in advance will not be asked in the exam in the year 2020-21 because it is not in syllabus, but maybe asked in other years. So I have discussed here. Oversubscription. Oversubscription means applications received for shares are more than the number of shares issued to the public for subscription. Say for example, company has issued 1 lakh shares and applications are received for 1,20,000 shares, then it is the case of oversubscription. Now in case of oversubscription, what alternatives are available to company? So the first alternative, company can accept some applications in full and reject the others. So we have received 1,20,000 shares application. So we can reject 20,000 and we can keep only 1 lakh. Second option, they can make pro rata allotment to all. That means those people who have applied for 1,20,000 shares will be given 1 lakh shares. Or we can say those who have applied for 1,200 shares will be given only 1,000 shares. In this way, pro rata proportionate allotment can be made. And the third option, they can adopt a combination of the above two. That means some shareholders are given on pro rata basis and some applications are rejected. So these are the options available in case of oversubscription. Undersubscription. Opposite to oversubscription, undersubscription. Undersubscription means a situation where number of shares applications received is less than the number of shares issued for public subscription. So if company has issued 1 lakh shares and if the applications are received only for the 95,000 shares, then it is the case of undersubscription. And the third case is full subscription, in which applications received are exactly equal to shares issued. So these are the cases of subscription. Now we are going to understand accounting treatment for the issue of shares for consideration other than cash. Till now, we have discussed accounting treatment for the issue of shares for cash. Now we are understanding accounting treatment for the issue of shares for consideration other than cash. So many a time a company issues share but it does not receive cash. Instead of that, it may purchase any asset or it may purchase any business, and in return, in making payment, it may issue its own shares. Then it is the case of issue of shares for consideration other than cash. It normally happens when a company purchases any asset or any business and it makes payment by issuing its own shares. So first entry would be for the purchase of asset. So asset account will be debited to vendor, that means to seller. This is for purchase of asset. If you have purchased so many assets, all assets account will be debited to vendor. Suppose business is purchased, then in that business you will purchase not only the asset but also the liability. So in that case, this entry will change. Assets account will be debited individually to vendor account and to liabilities account individually. So any one entry will come out of these two. Now some important points. If a purchase consideration, that means the amount in which business is purchased or asset is purchased, is more than the net asset acquired. Net asset means difference of assets and liabilities acquired. So if the purchase consideration paid is more than the net assets acquired, your difference will come in the above entry in the debit column and it will be debited to goodwill account. But if purchase consideration paid is less than the net assets acquired, then your difference will come in the above entry in the credit column. So it will be credited to capital reserve account. So may be possible purchase consideration may be more than net asset or purchase consideration may be less than net asset. Whatever may be the case, you have to take either goodwill or capital reserve in the above entry. So this is the entry for the purchase of asset. Second entry will be for the issue of shares to vendor. Now we are issuing share to this vendor. So vendor is the receiver. So vendor account debit to share capital when the shares are issued at par. But suppose shares are issued at premium, then the entry would be vendor account debit to share capital account to securities premium reserve account. Whenever shares are issued at premium, securities premium reserve account will be credited. So dear student, these are the two entries for the issue of shares for consideration other than cash. As per the information given in the exercise, you have to write first entry. Three options are given here. Any one option will come. And for the issue of shares, two options are given. Any one will come as per the information given in the exercise. Now, forfeiture of shares. What is forfeiture of shares? Forfeiture of shares means cancellation of shares for non-payment of allotment money and or call money by the shareholder. So many times it is possible that some of the shareholders may not make the payment of allotment or they may not make payment of call. So there may be calls in arrears. In this case, company can give notice to them for payment, and if they do not make payment, their shares are forfeited. That means they are cancelled. So in this case, what will be the entry? Now here there are different options. First option, forfeiture of shares if they are issued at par. So your entry would be for the cancellation of shares, equity share capital account debit with the called up amount. Suppose face value is 10 and out of this company has called up only 6 rupees, then this entry will come with 6 rupees. Called up amount will be 6 rupees and that will be multiplied with the number of shares forfeited. So equity share capital account debit to share forfeiture account. Here you will credit the amount received on these forfeited shares. To share allotment account, that means not received on allotment. To share call account, that means calls in arrears account. If it is first call, then you will write share first call account. If it is second call, you will write share second call account. If company has opened calls in arrears account, you can write two calls in arrears account. So when the shares are issued at par and if they are forfeited, entry would be equity share capital account debit with the called up amount to share forfeiture account with the received amount from the shareholder on the shares forfeited to share allotment account not received from the shareholder to share calls account individually not received amount. This is the first case. Second case, forfeiture of shares issued at a premium and premium amount is already received. So suppose company has issued shares at premium and the shareholder has already paid the premium amount. So in this case, entry would be the same as first case. There would be no change. Share capital account will be debited with the called up amount. Share forfeiture account will be credited with the received amount on these forfeited shares. To share allotment, not received amount on these shares, to share calls account individually. You have to keep in mind when the shares are issued at premium and premium is not received. So the option number 3 will come. In that case, you have to debit securities premium account. That is premium is not received. Other thing will remain same. Only securities premium reserve account will be debited. So see the entry number 3. Shares are issued at premium and premium is not received. The share capital account will be debited with the called up amount. Securities premium reserve account debit with the not received amount of premium to share forfeiture account. Received amount on this shares. Share allotment account not received including premium to share calls account not received including premium. So these are the 3 journal entries for the forfeiture of shares. Any one entry will come as per the information given in the exercise. So you have to read carefully your exercise and you have to check out of these 3 which entry will come. After forfeiture, company may decide to reissue forfeited share to another person. So if the shares are reissued, then your entry would be bank account debit to share capital if they are issued at par, or bank account debit to share capital account to securities premium reserve account if they are issued at premium, or bank account debit share forfeiture account debit to share capital if they are issued at discount. So may be possible company may issue shares at discount. So in that case, amount of forfeited will be utilized for giving discount. So these are the 3 options for the issue of shares. You have to read carefully your exercise and you have to check whether shares are issued at par or at premium or at discount. Third entry would be for the balance amount in the forfeiture. Whatever will be the balance in the forfeiture account, that will be transferred to capital reserve because it is a capital profit. So your entry would be share forfeiture account to capital reserve. So dear student, in case of forfeiture, 3 entries will come. First entry for the forfeiture of share. Second entry will be for the reissue of such shares, and third entry would be for the transfer of forfeiture amount to the capital reserve. Now some important notes are given here which are very important. The capital profit arises only in respect of the forfeited shares reissued and not on all forfeited shares. So when you transfer to the capital reserve, you have to keep in mind only that amount you will transfer to capital reserve which shares are reissued, forfeited and reissued. If the shares are forfeited and they are not reissued, then that amount will not go to capital reserve, but that amount we will show in the balance sheet. So when a part of the forfeited share are reissued, only the proportionate amount of the balance of that relates to the forfeited share reissued should be transferred to capital reserve. If the shares are forfeited and they are not reissued, forfeited account we will show in balance sheet under the head share capital. Now one more point, buyback of shares. What is buyback of shares? When a company purchases its own shares, it is called buyback of shares. XYZ Limited issued its shares and after a few years, it purchased its own shares from the public. Then it is a buyback of shares. Now, why company will buy shares? The company want to cancel those shares, so it may buy back its shares. It wants to reduce its share capital, so it can buy its share back. Now, what are the sources which can be utilized for buying these shares? So, company can buy their own shares from either of the following sources. First, from existing equity shareholder on a proportionate basis, or it can buy from the open market, or it can from odd lot shareholders, or from employees of the company. So these are the various sources from where company can buy its shares back. The company can buy back its own shares either from the free reserves, securities premium, or from the proceed of any shares or any other specified securities. So these are the sources which will be utilized for buying back its own shares. Free reserves like general reserve, securities premium reserve, or share issue amount that can be utilized for buying its own shares. In case shares are bought back out of free reserves, the company must transfer a sum equal to the nominal value of the shares bought back to the capital redemption reserve. So these are the important points for the buyback of shares. So dear student, in this session, I have tried to cover all the journal entries of the chapter issue of shares. Please kindly subscribe my channel Guru of Accountancy. I will come with the next video on the exercise on this chapter and we will see some of the exercise on this chapter. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Take care.